Hey, welcome back again. I hope you enjoyed that commercial break. We brought that to you with love. And in case I forgot to mention, don't forget to click like, subscribe, share with your grandmother. All of our products, our websites, and our subsidiary and producers, which is Saturday Night Gaming. And speaking of Saturday Night Gaming, we have a special guest here with us tonight to talk about House of X, Powers of 10. And that is the man himself, Scottimus Prime, Scott Hibbard. Thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you because we're going to talk about some intense stuff, and that's also going to involve a lot of spoilers. Technical difficulty department, please put up a big, bold letters that say spoilers right here. If you have not completed reading The House of X, Powers of 10, or if you have not also moved into the subsequent title, which is Dawn of X, then either learn from us what happened or save this video for later after you've read it and hear our thoughts and opinions on it and where we think they may possibly be going with this. Now, first off, I know that most of my crew has already read the entirety of this series. One of them may have to take off his headphones at some point because he's still working on it.
I got 3 issues left. I mean, I know a lot, but I don't know the ends.
Something. You have an idea. That's like saying I read a book on philosophy and I understand what 42 means. You're getting there though. All right, but we'll tell you when to mute yourself so that you can
all right.
You still remain surprised because
I've read the House and the Power of 10 and but except for the last 3 issues, and I have not read the Dawn of X at all.
Yeah, the end is pretty powerful. So it's
God, yeah.
Now to start with, Scott, you started reading this. I know I talked about it a lot to you, and I probably bragged on Jonathan Hickman for quite a while before you decided to read this. How did you feel about it when you first cracked it open? When you first started reading the story?
Oh, that first issue, man, that got me. It grabbed me, and I'm like, okay, where's the rest? I got to read the rest of it. And I'll tell you, I read another 2 issues right after that. I'm like, oh man, it's late. I gotta get to bed.
All 8 of these kids are gonna wake up, and they're gonna wake me up whether I go to sleep or not. It's captivating though, just seeing the difference in how the history is presented. And I know that a lot of you have probably read some other of the comics from the past before, but the inclusion of Moira McTaggart as a staple to this storyline is, well, I think it's deserved on her part because she's been a mainstay character since the inception of the International X-Men team that we all knew as the new Uncanny X-Men. But she's been a big staple to this story for a long time, and I think it's great that they finally gave her this uniquity within the story. How do you feel about it, Ronnie?
About including Myra?
Yeah.
I think it's great. I still remember her, and if I recall correctly, her and Charles being an item in the cartoon almost.
I think in the cartoon they presented it, and they also had her with Sean Cassidy, the band.
Yeah, that's right. I think she was with Banshee as well. But no, it's most of my knowledge of her came from the cartoon series. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool to see a character like that that's kind of been in, like, from what Tony told me, that she's been in almost all of the important events and stuff like that of the past. And just to turn around and make her a mutant was really, really, really cool. And how they did that and how she became so integral to this story and important is just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, and plus the power itself that they gave her, this reincarnation power, which definitely doesn't only say that she has the ability to reincarnate and come back. She's basically restarting everyone's timeline. Is that how you're perceiving it, McClay, when you read it? scientific standpoint of this? She's basically
Well, so far, because like I said, I haven't finished it yet. That seems to be the angle that she's taking it from. Like she's actually making a difference, but it's also possible that she isn't. It's possible that every time she wakes up in a new life, it's an alternate reality, and she's really just working to save that one alternate reality that she'll inevitably save, I'm sure. But all those other realities that were lost still exist. But
Well,
I don't know if
X-Men
that's
are
the.
famous for having their alternate realities.
Hmm?
The X-Men are famous for having their alternate
That is
realities.
true. But like, right now, like it's obvious that she thinks that at least she is, it's the same reality that she's going to be saving, and she's like changing things. I think she even mentioned changing it. But it's possible that they're just alternate realities.
Well, given her first interaction, and I want to get a good sense of the room here. How did you all feel? And we'll start with you, Scott, and then go around the table. But how did you feel when you saw the first interaction between Destiny and the Brotherhood of Mutants and Moira McTaggart when Destiny tried to basically guide her on her path?
Yeah, that's actually immediately what I thought of when you were mentioning her. I just that still grips in my mind what happened.
Yeah.
Because the Destiny is like, there's something different about you. I can't read you like I can the others. Why is that?
Blank. Yeah.
And then it was just that the whole kind of going back and forth was pretty neat. And especially when finally she's like, now I'm about to set you back on your path. And then boom.
Yeah. In a very harsh way.
Yeah, very much. And I'm like, man, that's brutal.
Yeah, I really liked her threat and how real it was. Like, here's Mora. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I'll stop you every time. Like, there's no point in you pursuing this avenue,
Well, it really, that's a great thing too, that now that you mention it, it's a great way to reestablish Irene Adler, the character known as Destiny, back as a very powerful asset within the X-Men universe, because she was a big part in the 80s with the Mystique-led Brotherhood. She was also a big part of the Age of Apocalypse storyline, which most of us would probably remember from the 1990s as one of the biggest events of the 90s. But before I get carried away with too much X-Men knowledge, Ronnie, how did you feel about that really brutal encounter between the Brotherhood and Moira McTaggart?
Man, okay, I thought that was just like, whoa. I didn't realize Destiny was that brutal. I was just like, yikes. I thought it was really good. Traumatizing for the character, definitely. I mean,
Right.
If someone did that to me, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I should do what I'm supposed to do because I don't want this to happen again.
And I mean, I think it was fascinating to see subsequently after that how she attached herself to each of the very influential mutant characters in the universe, and kind of saw those things through to fruition, and showed, at least within the first books, to our understanding, our perception of what the reality she's presenting us, how those ended. So if I go with Charles, this is how it happens. If I go with Magneto, this is how it happens. If I go and join up with Apocalypse, this is going to happen. Now, Scott, I want to get back to you. How did you feel when you saw the X-Men? So for this first little mini-series, when you saw the first mission of the X-Men, okay, so we've got Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey back in her Marvel Girl classic garb, and a few other very essential characters. How did you feel watching that first mission unfold?
Try and place my memory here of that first mission.
The master mold in space.
Yes, that's.
Oh wait, that was their first mission?
Well, that's the first one you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was, let's just say, surprising.
Everybody rolled a nat one. and
Yeah.
not in a good way.
Yeah, I really liked that how the human character in it, because the humans are the enemies of the mutants, of course. But like I liked how they humanized the humans, and like this guy is desperately trying to save what he thinks of his kind, right? And so he sacrifices himself in an unanticipated way that's devastating to the opposition, the mutants. I thought that was really kind of ingenious. I really like it when writers like show
It
motive
challenged our
or
idea of
yeah,
what it is.
like there's no real villain. You know, everyone is vying for life, basically. Um, and that's all there is. It's just a bunch of like beings trying to survive.
Then you make a good point, because not only do they give us this guy who's trying to save this space station that he's on, and not only are they showing us that he's fighting for what he thinks is a cause, but at the same time, the scientist that he's transmitting this information back and forth to before he makes that sacrifice, you find out is his wife.
Yeah, and he reminisces about having children. And
yeah, it was very humanizing. That was a great part. Jonathan Hickman's a genius.
Something else about that too, about that whole scenario, is that they mentioned that this was basically a collection of human agencies throughout the entire world, and they all came together for one cause, which is the core center of humanity. You know, all was united underneath a single banner. You know, if you
hatred,
put a thread out there big enough, and we will all unite together. You know,
we had aim, we had sword, shield, and they even mentioned that they
Alpha
were
Flights was in there.
Raced about having some Hydra agents with them. They're like, we need Hydra in. This is so important.
Even ex-Hammer agents as well.
I'm sorry?
Even ex-Hammer agents as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a big. Like Scott said, it makes it into a big deal. This is something bigger than all of our little petty differences. This mutant problem is a problem, at least in their perception of it at that moment. But how did y'all feel? And I'll tell you what was your favorite aspect character-wise, as far as either a reimagined character or a brand new character, which he's given us a lot of brand spanking new characters in this. Just let's start with Scott, go to Ronnie, and then come around to McClay. What was your favorite reconceived character or new character in this series?
my favorite is Professor X.
Yeah.
He
got a shiny new hat.
Well, now his different look, so to speak. His whole just posture and everything, like, and how he goes about just handling, business is just completely different. But at the same time, he's not being a tyrant, so to speak. He's actually kind of doing things on. I guess he's relating to people. Like, for instance, when he's talking to the human and said, "Hey, look, we've tried to do things like this before, but it didn't work. So we're going to do this a different way, because since you crave this, we're going to give you that. But in return, I'm going to get this."
He's also become a worldwide drug dealer, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically appealing to the human interests in a different way. And
he wants to avoid war, and so this can either go down one or two ways. We give you something, and you get something, you let us go, or we fight for it. And we will win.
The ideals, the morality that he used to carry so strictly seem to be gray.
He's more proactive, for sure.
Yeah.
It seemed like the old Professor X was just like, I hope everyone gets along eventually, and this one's like, we're doing something. He's actually being proactive and taking steps, He
almost makes Magneto look like a backseat driver now. Like he's just along for the ride with whatever Charles is going to pull off. And I do find it very interesting that Scott brought that up, that Charles Xavier's posture is everything. The way that he holds himself, he almost seems proud and snooty sometimes. It's very interesting, and I think we're going to find out more about that as we go. But before we get too deep into just Professor X love, Ronnie, what was your favorite character from this series?
Okay, so I have two. One only showed up on one page throughout the entire series, and that was Namor. When Charles Xavier tried to recruit Namor, that was like the best thing I've read. He was like, "Oh, it's like," he's like, "You should come join us." He's like, "Come join you? You're just now figuring out that you're better than humans, while I have always known I've been better than everyone else."
That
It
was
was just
good.
like that whole thing. He was just like, "Come back at me," or "Come back to me when you
caught up with me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh my God, that's Namor in a nutshell," and I love it. No one can touch the man with his eyebrows constantly on fleek. But,
Fleek brows.
yes, Mr. Fleek Brows. But no, but my favorite character throughout that's important to the series, how they reimagined. Never thought I would ever like Mr. Sinister that much. Oh my
Sassy
God.
sister.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's
Awesome.
great.
Which one?
Yeah, the one with the cape, obviously, because it's fabulous.
Exactly. When he was sitting there talking to Exodus, it was just, oh my God. And Exodus is like, "Shut up, or I will make you shut up." Something similar to that. I was laughing so
But he
hard.
still has a tone about him in certain scenes where it's like, "Don't mess with me. I'll still screw your world up."
Oh,
Uh,
Yeah.
Sassy Mr. Sinister is definitely great. His gossip columns throughout the
Oh, yeah.
are very funny.
yeah.
And he's giving you a lot of hints to things, so that's great.
Yes.
Right. I know you haven't gotten all the way to the end, McClay, but how do you?
I have a favorite so far, I guess. Well, like, I have always had an affinity, and I can't really understand why, because she didn't really do anything. And it's more of a McTaggart. And just, learning the revelations that come out in this book are fantastic. But getting back to what that encounter with the woman who could see the future, like there was a moment in that, like that I guess like intrinsically I just internalized, but hadn't like said out loud or thought about. And I think the same was true of the character, and it's that resonating with the character, which was amazing for me. Is like when she said that, like, you think you're immortal, basically.
Right.
And then I was like, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I guess she is. That's pretty cool. It's like, you think that's cool? Like, oh. And then
You're wrong.
like, well, yeah, you maybe got 10, 11 if you're lucky. And she explained it. Like, she didn't just say, I know that you're only going to live 10 lives, and that was done. But the reason she gave made sense. And I was like, this writer's great. He's very thoughtful. He doesn't just throw something out there. Anything he throws out there, he has thought about. Yeah, he's written a book about, like, so like when she gave the explanation, like, your power's a mutant. If they haven't manifested yet, if you haven't hit puberty and you die, you're dead. You don't come back. And so she saw the future where she died as a girl, maybe.
Yeah, she's basically saying, "I'm going to come kill you before you hit puberty."
Yeah, and that is so great. Like it's and I felt that, and I felt that fear for her, and it really explains what happens next, because she flips on a dime, like she is all about this, and then she has that encounter, and then she's all about that, obsessive, and that's the only way to explain why a character would stop being that character and just flip and turn. All their ideals are turned upside down. But it was great. It was a great moment.
It was very good. I've got to tell you, I agree with all you guys on your points that you made so far. Personally, I liked some of these future mutants that they presented to us that were amalgamations. The one that was basically Ilyana with Colossus's powers as well was amazing. Those are very driving. But quite honestly, I've got to say, Nimrod was one of the most compelling characters. And I'm not even kidding.
I love Nimrod. I love villains like Nimrod. It just appeals to me.
I keep listening to you, or you're dead. You've annoyed me. And look what you made me do. I'm not even.
And then he'll like lament, like, "Oh, I shouldn't have killed them. I'm sorry."
I'm sorry, but
So
no,
great.
really not, because I can't feel anything.
Well, he's working on it. He's getting there. Obviously, they're working towards some sort of evolutionary step. I think that
Oh, that stuff is very interesting too. Like, and it's
yeah.
very like, in this time and age we live in, like those are questions we'll have to start asking.
Well,
How
would you
will
want to
humanity evolve?
become, and that you'd have to tell me once I go too far into the issues, because to me it's just one cohesive story. But to make that step, I believe that they revealed that earlier on in the miniseries, but to make the step towards a collective unconscious, is that something you'd really want to do? That's a big deal. And in that, I think we can see either the greatest evolutionary step or the loss of freedom. And there are still these individuals that are powerful enough to say, we're still going to fight for freedom and our own right to exist outside of conformity. That's how I took it. I don't know if you, how do you feel about it, Scott?
Yes, that's that's about it right there. I mean, it's far in the future. You basically had this enslavement. They had the humans who basically sold their soul, so to speak, and their freedom to the technology, to Nimrod, in order to get rid of the mutant. And in
For
order to do that,
security.
he could handle it. He had the security, and he can do this. But hey, you guys don't really have a choice anymore. You do what I say. So it's tough.
Yeah, and I do like seeing the evolutionary jump from Nimrod Minor to the second stage of Nimrod, where it's just the floating AI system. It's no longer in need of this big, bulky, powerful suit, and it doesn't have the same persona to it either. It's a complete jump in evolution. So between seeing the storyline present, storyline 100, and then storyline 1,000 years in the future, it's very compelling to try and figure out what's going on in between, what led to those points, how important some of those crazy deals that Charles Xavier's making are. The deal especially that he made with Mr. Sinister. It's a wild ride. But I want to go ahead and pose this question to you. Ronnie, how do you feel about the way that Jonathan Hickman not only writes this story for you panel by panel, but he also includes these pages of what one could say is erroneous information, but it's extra information, almost like reading Lord of the Rings, and he added in a map for you in case you wanted to know where you were. How do you feel about that additional information that Jonathan Hickman adds into his books?
Grrr! Hey, bub, check it out. We're talking about me and all my friends in House of X and Powers of 10. If you want to hear more about it and even more spoilers, then join us for part 2 of Turn the Page, analyzes Jonathan Hickman's awesomeness. And if you don't do it, well, schnicked, bub. Nuff said.
All right, so yeah, I thought it was really cool how he added all the different extra information about like the worlds, the maps, the structure of like how the island was, right? Like all the different points showing like where. Okay, I binge read the series, so everything's just kind of blending together.
That'll happen. I've read it about 2 to 3 times now.
But yeah, I loved all the extra information, like like the Bar Sinister stuff, or them talking about like what all the symbols meant. I mean, I loved that stuff. I actually went back. It's usually I go like I don't care about extra stuff, but he makes it engaging and interesting.
It adds layers to the world, I think, and I knew it was something to expect from Jonathan Hickman because of his run on Avengers. Not only when he did Avengers World, but then when it moved into the Time Runs Out saga, which led into the new world that we lived in for a while. Jonathan Hickman just provides a lot of information that you may not know that you need, but it adds a fleshed out reality that you weren't expecting. It goes beyond just having good artwork or having good writing. It goes into like, what kind of Starbucks are they drinking at? He's already thought of that, and he's going to describe it to you. So that's, I think, pretty amazing about him, and he's always 10 steps ahead. But being ahead, that brings up the question of, once you broke into Dawn of X, did your concept of what was going to change a little bit? Or do you feel like there's some new part that you're very interested in seeing how that goes? We'll start with Scott.
Well, let me start by saying this. That's one of the things I enjoy about this series, is that there's a main overarching, this is what we're doing for the mutants. And then you got 6 subplots. So, I mean, Apocalypse has his thing going on. He's got his agenda. Sinister has his agenda. Xavier has his agenda. The Hellfire Club has theirs,
Kitty Pryde is drunk.
All the time.
All the time.
That's when she fights the best, So that's why I thoroughly enjoy about it. And, I mean, I tell you, the one I'm most excited about and seeing it continue is the Excalibur storyline.
Me too.
That's actually one that I don't want to give away too much, but I know that that's going to be very relevant coming up into the next storyline that he's doing about the 7 swords and everything. So in essence, what I told you before, that each thing that he's done has to do with what and he's even put it into the story. It's a lot about tarot cards. So even within that, when you first meet Moira's first talking to Charles, and she's talking about being at the fair that day, the festivities, and then seeing the person with the tarot cards. That's been implied and been strongly shown throughout the original overarching story, as you would put it. And then moving into the subplot section, I believe that you're getting more of that there. So he's taken this idea, basing this story on a tarot card system, and really run with it. But so you're telling me that Excalibur is really your favorite right now?
It is, yes. Mainly because Apocalypse has always been one of my favorites. And to see him in a new, different light, but at the same time, it's still the same old Apocalypse,
It's a little heroic, but at the same time, he's still very calculating.
Oh, yeah, especially when Xavier, kind of told him, he's like, look, hey, what we do here, stop using it for your own personal interest. I thought that was a nice little talking to you got with him.
That's part of the agreement that he made when he first let him on the island.
Right.
Look, we're going at this way. This is the rules we're going to go by. Just seeing the council brought together and how they were broken up into what sections they were broken up was really cool. I mean, you had your classic X-Men sitting over here. You had your random table of Mr. Sinister, and Ronnie had already brought this up before, but Mr. Sinister sitting next to Exodus. You got the Hellfire Club still not complete yet, until you realize that Kitty Pryde is the one that Emma Frost is angling to become, which is an interesting idea. She wants to push her to become her Red Queen or her Red Cardinal. But that's interesting to me, because if you go back to Chris Claremont, like if you rewind a few decades and go back to Chris Claremont, Emma Frost, when she was first introduced, was trying to recruit Kitty Pryde. That was the original story. And the X-Men had to go save Kitty Pryde from the Hellfire Club. So this isn't necessarily a new idea that Emma Frost is working with Kitty Pryde. It's a new angle, though, where Kitty Pryde is accepting it. So, interesting. little viewpoint there, I guess. I definitely got to say, though, guys, I really, really dig reading the Marauders. I don't know if you realize that by me talking about King Pride so much, but I really dig the Marauders. The Fallen Angels is taking time to grow on me, which is surprising given that we have Psylocke, well, not Psylocke, and we also have X-Man or X-Man Cable or Young Cable that killed Cable. However you want to view these characters, it's got a lot of the gritty characters that I would normally lean towards. But I gotta tell you, I really dig the Marauders kind of funny but funky angle and puzzle piece in this whole thing.
Yeah, I gotta say, Fallen Angels is probably one of my least favorites. I still read it because it does have some interesting takes and things, but
Right.
like you said, it takes a minute to kind of grow on you. It feels that that one was more, I guess, of a slower start than the other ones were. A lot more build up to it, and I guess that's why it kind of hasn't really appealed to me as much.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you gotta look at it, it's like a slow build. She's putting together this little team, whereas like X-Force started off with a bang, literally. X-Men is the staple book, so, and this is what was really interesting to me too. And Ronnie, I know that you've already read at least the first 2 to 3 issues of Dawn of X of each of the titles.
I've read the first 2. Can't remember what the first 2 is, but I literally do not care what you say.
Okay, well, my first question, though, to you would be, both of you, how do you feel about what's obviously implied? So just within the X-Men first title, when you get through that and you realize how Summers has built his area on the blue area of the moon. So where we've always known the Inhumans to be from. Now you've got Scott living there, which I have to bring up. Scott, in one sense, in the Inhumans versus X-Men storyline, was killed by Black Bolt, at least by appearances. So isn't it strange how he's living on the Inhumans' old base? That's a 1 right there, kind of an alpha move that he made. And then on top of that, if you looked at the, again, erroneous information that Jonathan Hickman provides, the relationship, the polyamorous relationship that's going on right now between Scott Summers, Jean Grey, and Wolverine. It seems to be open forum at the dinner table.
Or maybe I haven't read that yet.
Oh. But you might not have picked up on it. I picked up on it. If you look at the format of the house, you've got the kids. Obviously, you know that all the Summers family lives there.
Yeah.
And then Wolverine.
I didn't realize.
So he's the only person that's not the Summers family living there. And then look at the way that the bedroom system is set up. And you've got Jean Grey's room, Scott Summers' room, Wolverine's room, kids' rooms. What? So, and then if you look at the doors to the main living area, and then doors in between, both of which go into Jean Grey's room. Kind of strange.
George Takei would say, "Oh my."
Oh my. Definitely. And even the looks between all of them when they were having the party to celebrate Mutant Kind.
Yeah.
Emma Frost looking at Scott, Scott looking at Jean, Jean looking at Wolverine, all of them having some sort of weird unspoken thing as if they're adapting and evolving beyond the monogamous relationship of humankind.
Yeah, I didn't catch that at all.
Go back through. I bet you it'll hit you.
The only thing I caught of Wolverine was him being torn to pieces over and over and over again. And it's just like, man, just keep going. They're brutal with him, with his character.
And I think they always should be. But I think that those are a lot of the little things that Jonathan Hickman throws in these books that may take a few reads before you catch on the subtle things And it's like, wait a second, did you just throw that fastball at me? I didn't even see it before it hit me smack in the middle of the head. Great writer, as we all said before. So to everybody that's planning to read these books, if we spoiled everything for you, you're welcome. For everybody who's read these books, please leave some comments for us. Let us know how you felt about it or how you would answer some of these questions yourself. We look forward to hearing from you. And at all times, we will present a link for you to get to our subsidiary sites where you can get cool gear. As you can see, Scott Hibbard's also wearing one of our great shirts right now. That's the Turn the Page t-shirt. We have several other t-shirts up for sale. You can also get them in stickers, mugs, that sort of thing. So just check it out. Yeah, check it out. Take a look at everything. Maybe next time I'll promise something new and we'll make that too. Until then, though, I hope you appreciate the show. I hope you enjoy what we do here. We enjoy providing this entertainment for you. We've enjoyed it so much tonight that we've created an extra long segment based on the House of X, Powers of 10, Dawn of X storyline. Jonathan Hickman, I hope you appreciate that very much. We will hashtag your name here so that you can know that we were talking about you. And if you would like to come on the show, just go ahead and leave me a message. I'll give you a call. Your people talk to my people. Maybe you and Kat Dennings can show up on the same episode, and we'll all just have a good old-fashioned time of talking and debating about how awesome you are. But until then, I am Tony Stevens. I am your star power, hosting your Turn the Page show, keeping it real for you, bringing you the news, talking and debating about comic book issues and cinematic superheroes. And as always, I'll be joined by my adorable sidekick, Ronnie Shanks. We had our sex appeal, John McClay, step out so he could finish reading the series. And as always, thank you very much, Scott Hibbard, Scott of His Crime, for joining us, for being a guest star on the show, and for making all of this a reality for us. Without you, we wouldn't have Saturday Night Gaming. We wouldn't have Turn the Page. We wouldn't have this amazing group of people. So thank you so much for everything you do, and we appreciate you. And go ahead, click like, click subscribe, and then go ahead and call up Grandma tomorrow and tell her that you shared this show with her and you want her to watch it. But until next time, this is Tony Stevens signing out, and I hope you've enjoyed yourselves and we've made 2020 just a little bit better.